Meeting is now being recorded. People are joining in, so we're going to start in a few more minutes.
Okay, give us 1 minute. We had a little technical difficulty, so give us 1 minute.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Dana Hunter, and I'm the new Executive Director of the Louisiana First Foundation, founded by Louisiana's former First Lady, Mrs. Donna Edwards. Mrs. Edwards is also the founder of the National Coalition for the Prevention of Human Sex Trafficking, or as we like to call it, NCPHST, a coalition of first spouses dedicated to raising awareness of the issue of human trafficking, some of which are here with us today. On behalf of NCPHST, we want to welcome you all to the 8th Global Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Summit. We're excited to share with you that we have over 200 registrants for this event. For those of you who've already joined us, we would love to know who you are. Go ahead and take a quick minute and drop your name in the chat box. Tell us your title, your agency, and if there's something nice that you want to say. How's the weather in your town? All right, and we just want to thank you all for joining us. Today's topic is centered around highlighting national best practices and resources to assist foreign-born victims of human trafficking. We will hear from national experts who've advocated for programs and policies that aid in the protection and recovery of foreign nationals who traffickers often target, as we know, because of their many vulnerabilities, many of which you will learn about today. We also have a special guest who will briefly share information about a human trafficking survivor-led film, which has already had a transformative impact on raising awareness of this heinous crime. Now, to get started with today's program, it is my honor to introduce to you all a fierce leader of anti-trafficking efforts within our state of Louisiana, on the national level with NCPHST, and now on a global level as a board member of the Santa Marta Group. She, alongside her husband, former Governor John Bel Edwards, from 2016 to January of 2024, have worked together on this issue of human sex and labor trafficking and have made remarkable strides. Again, it is my pleasure to introduce to you all former First Lady of the state of Louisiana, Donna Edwards. First Lady.
Thank you, Dana. Good day, everyone. January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Partners and professionals across the country are engaging in activities to raise awareness of this issue. And even though today is the 30th of January, I think that we could all agree that awareness and prevention efforts will be highlighted beyond January. As many of you may already know, human trafficking is the second fastest growing criminal industry in the US. And according to the International Labor Organization, it is a $150 billion industry affecting nearly 50 million people a year. And while it's important for everyone, I mean everyone, to be aware of this crime that supersedes race, gender, and status, some individuals are particularly more vulnerable to traffickers. One group that is especially at risk for being exploited are foreign nationals, or some refer to them as foreign-born or immigrants. The State Department reports that 72% of victims reported each year are immigrants or foreign nationals. Foreign nationals are often prey for traffickers because of unique issues related to their immigration status, the fear of deportation, the lack of documentation, limited financial resources, language barriers, and more. And even immigrants are tricked into coming to the U.S. to have a better life by advertisements. Some of these advertisements for a better life come from groups like the cartel. The purpose of today's discussion is not to debate policies related to immigration, but to provide us with tools in our toolbox to be able to assist any immigrant victim that presents in our hospitals, clinics, schools, or other business, to include children. To understand the many vulnerabilities of facing the population and to have empathy and knowledge on how to provide relief and help foreign-born victims. I want to thank each of you for taking the time to join and expand your knowledge base. I also want to take a minute to acknowledge my very special guest, a dear friend of mine, Honorary Consul Japan of New Orleans, Donna Fresh, the first spouses who are also here with us today, and members of the National Coalition for the National Coalition for Prevention of Human Sex Trafficking. Some of those first spouses are First Lady of Georgia, Marty Kemp, First Lady of Mississippi, Ellie Reeves, and First Lady of Nevada, Donna Lombardo. We also have former First Lady of Arkansas, Susan Hutchinson, with us, who will each take a moment to bring you greetings. First Lady Kemp, I will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, First Lady Edwards. I have really enjoyed working with you and learning so much from you, and just continuing this fight to combat human trafficking, not only to help the victims, but also to have harsher penalties on the traffickers. So I really appreciate continuing to be a part of this, and you continuing your great work on this terrible, terrible issue, but together we can all make a difference. It takes a team. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think, okay, we want to go ahead and have First Lady of Mississippi, Ellie Reeves. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Donna, for getting all of us together today. And I just want to take a brief moment to thank each of you for your hard work on this incredibly important initiative. I'm grateful for all of you taking time out of your busy schedules today to take part in this summit. I do believe together we will continue bringing awareness to this important issue, and together we will work to bring an end to human trafficking. Again, thank you all for being here today.
Thank you so much, First Lady Reeves. And First Lady of Nevada, Donna Lombardo. I think maybe her.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I am here. I'm sorry, I'm mobile because I'm working today, so I'm on my phone.
You're fine.
I thank you for all you're doing. This is a new subject matter to me, so I don't have a lot of reference to it just yet, but I am very interested in supporting you and your efforts, and I appreciate being included today.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate you being on today. I appreciate you taking the time out. And former First Lady of Arkansas, Susan Hutchinson.
Hi, it's good to see everyone again. I'm post First Lady, but I've been long attached with children's advocacy centers, and our Attorney General, Tim Griffin, is now employing a law that was passed before he was Attorney General, and is hard fast holding summits and helping us get organized to confront this ever-growing issue. We see it also in CACs, even though we are looking after underage. It gets into families and pimped out. And in the course of immigrants, we have seen children coming in with immigrants that are also being trafficked. So it's all around, and they are looking to see how CACs help victims. And we're seeing interest now in another organization within the state of Arkansas to see how they can use our model for older sex traffic victims, and how we bring in law enforcement and counseling, medical, the interview for their account of what has been done to them. So we're real excited about it. And so I wanted to throw that out, that children's advocacy centers can be a resource to help create the best response for these older, then maybe underage as well, but maybe older victims of sex trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate your time, and your work with the Children's Advocacy Centers is very important. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards, and thank you to all of the members of the National Coalition for your dedication, your leadership. You know, whether you've been in it for years or whether you're brand new, we thank you for taking time and for using your platform to raise awareness around this issue. Thank you so much. So now we will hear from other leaders and experts in the field who've advocated for anti-human trafficking policies and programs before state, national, as well as international leaders. And our first presenter, she's dynamic. I first heard her speak and was like, wow, she's powerful. She's achieved national, international recognition for her work on anti-trafficking policies. She's authentic, bold, and very passionate. Judge Virginia Kendall. Judge Kendall was appointed to the federal bench in January of 2006. She teaches human trafficking, supply chain law, and public corruption at the University of Chicago Law School, Northwestern University School of Law, and Loyola University of Chicago School of Law. She's the co-author of Child Exploitation and Trafficking, Examining Global Enforcement, Supply Chain Challenges, and U.S. Responses, and has authored numerous articles on a variety of topics, including international human rights, human trafficking, public corruption, and transnational investigations. It's my pleasure to introduce our first presenter, the Honorable Judge Virginia Kendall. Judge Kendall.
Oh, thank you so much, Doctor. It's a pleasure to be here and to see all these wonderful women highlighting, which is my passion and my robust pro bono life that I've had for some 30 years now. You know, it's about 24 years this year that about 180 some countries met in Palermo, Italy, to discuss human trafficking on the global level for the first time. That was at the UN Convention on Organized Crime. And when all of those countries left that meeting in Italy, they went back to their home states and they said, we're going to enact human trafficking laws that criminalize this pervasive human rights violation. And we're going to make sure we protect especially women and children. And we're going to make sure that if you're a global trafficked victim, that you can either choose to be repatriated to the country that you came from, or that you have a path towards citizenship in the country that you come to. That was 24 years ago. And in some ways, I'm looking at today and thinking, this is great. This is a wonderful moment for me to see all of these first ladies join together to really enlighten each other and to make sure that these laws continue to be enacted to protect the most vulnerable individuals in our communities. And then in some other ways, I have to tell you, statistically, we're not doing as great as we'd like to do. And I'm going to focus today on two pieces of statistics to give you an analysis of that. The first one is now all of those 180 odd countries have human trafficking laws. That's amazing, right? And all 50 states in the United States have human trafficking laws, right? So how many prosecutions of criminal defendants are there in the world, not in the United States, in the world today? Wouldn't it surprise you when I say less than 10,000? Like just 9,500 or so last year. And what's even worse than that, only about 55% of those came to be convictions. So that's a real drop in the bucket when it comes to criminal prosecution. And that's why I've spent a significant portion of my pro bono life traveling to other countries and my own all around to educate judges about trafficking so that they understand the unique victimization, the vulnerabilities of the individuals involved in the trafficking, so that they can make correct judicial decisions. Because the truth is that laws exist, and yet a lot of people don't even know about the laws. Prosecutors don't know how to use them. Police don't know how to work the victim interview properly. Judges don't understand the victimization and make wrong decisions. So we're still 24 years later educating on this really important front. And I think that the First Lady mentioned it, or I should say former First Lady mentioned it in her opening, which is, you know, these international victims have unique vulnerabilities. Many times they don't speak the language. Many times they have what we would say is a lack of a cultural awareness, right? If they don't have identification documents, they are at a complete inability to work within our communities. And so, for example, well, take, for example, if I said to all of you sitting around this wonderful virtual meeting today, I would like you to give me your wallets, your purses, any identification you have, school ID, driver's license, passport, anything you have, give it to me. Come on back tomorrow at the same time and tell me what job you got. Tell me how you were hired here. You know, you couldn't even flip burgers at McDonald's because they need your identification. So any job that someone who doesn't have the appropriate identification documents gets is going to be under the table, and it's going to be for cash. And when somebody is getting a job under the table and for cash, then you know that there's going to be potential abuse. You can line up in front of the Home Depot and say, I will help you plant that tree that you're buying today. And the guy can say, okay, I'm going to give you $100 if you plant my tree, right? But then you plant the tree and the guy says, oh, I never said I was going to give you $100. Thanks for your help. Here's a Diet Coke. See you later. There's no redress. There's no ability to do anything about that. And so the abusive relationship between people who don't have identification and come into our country is really paramount. So one of those vulnerabilities that we need to make sure people understand and really respect. Another vulnerability that our law enforcement doesn't understand is that many individuals coming from foreign countries are very fearful of law enforcement. A few years ago, I worked with the International Bar Association on a project that we were linking public corruption with human trafficking. And the level of public corruption in other countries when it comes to customs and border patrols, when it comes to police and law enforcement, when it comes to employment services, all of those individuals that are supposed to be serving and protecting are frequently involved in the trafficking industry, which means that when someone comes from another country, the last thing they think of doing is reaching out to someone and seeking help from law enforcement. So those are vulnerabilities that still exist. And the second statistic I wanted to share with you is one that I think we all need to be keenly aware of right now, which is we all signed on board to having this immigration help for global victims. We said, we're going to allow you to be repatriated to your home country, or we're going to give you help to stay here, right? And our help is in the form of a T visa. It's a visa that we give to trafficking victims who have been suffering from trafficking It is a complicated form to fill out. However, we have 5,000 of them available every single year, right? Now, you heard the number 50 million victims, right? How many have come into the United States and how many T visas have been supplied? Well, I looked it up this morning just to make sure I was giving you more recent numbers. And I can tell you that in the year 2020, 2,076 applications were received and 2,058 were given. Okay, well, where's the other 3,000 odd available T visas? Is that because we don't have 3,000 individuals worthy of it? No, it's because it's so complicated and it's way beyond the kind of average individual who may not speak the language. I don't even like immigration law. As a federal judge, the immigration statutes are thick and they really require a lot of expertise. And so one of the things that I've been working with both the American Bar Association and other local bar associations, the Federal Bar Association, is to encourage pro bono work out of law firms for lawyers to take on the help of a particular victim to apply for a T visa so that they can be on a path towards citizenship, which allows them 5 years to get towards that path towards citizenship. But here's the red flashing light in the future. Last year, there were 13,574 applications received. So what you're seeing there is a big increase in the number of individuals coming into our country from other areas who have the ability to seek redress, have the ability to say, I need a T visa to stay here. I've been a trafficking victim. So the 13,000 is just a drop in the bucket again because of people not knowing how to use this. But what a jump, right? What a huge jump from 2019. Only 3,676 of them were approved last year, which means that the percentage of people getting approval and the slowness in the pipeline of these T visa applications is definitely it's impacting the number of people that can seek redress within our community. So I think those are some things that we who are trying to stay on top of these trends need to recognize, is that we have a vehicle for victims globally to get redress, and yet it's never, ever, ever been utilized appropriately and efficiently because we've never cracked over 50% of the number that can be given. And if that's the case, it's not necessarily that our government isn't providing it. It's most likely that our victims don't know how to access and don't have advocates helping them to access. To give you an example of the distinction between having help in an immigration setting and not, there's all of these young children that are coming across the border, many of them being trafficked, right? Those young children have about a 95% chance of being safely kept within the United States if they have a lawyer. But we're not obligated to give them a lawyer. So it's only through pro bono services, right? And if you don't have a lawyer, you have about the same rate that you will be returned to your home country, even if you are escaping gangs, even if you are escaping violence, whatever it may be. So these are some stats that, I live and breathe this stuff, and I try to aid our country, our judges and other judges in really understanding some of the significance of these statistics. But I think for those of you who are interested in exploring this, maybe some of the steps towards aiding global victims is recognizing that the legal system, through volunteer work, and not very difficult volunteer work and helping them fill out these applications, is one way to really make such a difference. And that is something that I advocate for within different communities whenever I go there. Now, finally, the last thing I wanted to mention to all of you about our global victimization is that When you are watching international news, when you see something like a natural disaster, an earthquake, a tsunami, right? When you see some kind of medical pandemic like Ebola in Liberia, right? When you see some kind of issue that is breaking apart a community's infrastructure, you are seeing fertile ground for traffickers to bring in children to our country, because what they see is dollar signs. They see a commodity that they can use. And when the infrastructure is broken down, law enforcement's broken down, and the family structure is broken down, that's when the traffickers come in. So one of the things to think about is next time you see, the news about the Nepal earthquake or something, recognize that to us as United States citizens, we're thinking, oh, that's so sad. I hope they can get their infrastructure back. What I'm thinking is we better start looking at Nepalese children who are coming into our country, because they just came in from a completely broken down structural system. So we have a lot of clues when we look at our immigration and our borders and how people are getting here. We have a lot of clues that can help us to identify victims so that they can receive the services and the help that they need, and hopefully to prevent children especially from being sex trafficked on our streets. Because just like the guy standing in line at Home Depot, when you are a young mom or a young person that is hungry, you'll do a lot of different things to put food into a baby's mouth, and someone's going to offer you that position, and before you know it, we're depriving an individual of their right of dignity, their right to autonomy, and it is absolutely a human right violation. So I don't want to go too long. You could put a nickel in me, doctor, and I would be here like the whole day on any topic you want, but I tried to highlight the few that I thought would be helpful for you today.
Outstanding, Judge Kendall. Thank you so much for just scratching the surface, but yet we learned so much about T visas and the impact of pro bono work and educating judges and making sure, and for those who may want to volunteer. So thank you for sharing that expertise. I want to share with our audience, if you have questions for Judge Kendall and any panelists, please drop them in the chat box and we will follow up afterwards. We will share your name and your email address and question with each of the panelists. So please, and don't forget to put your email address so that we can reach back out to you. Thank you again.
And thank you all for your good work. It really does inspire me. It's the thing that keeps me going is that there's still people out there like you doing this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
Sure.
Next, or now, we will hear from someone else with a wealth of experience in working with migrant individuals and families. William Canny. William Bill Canny is the Executive Director of the Department of Migration and Refugee Services at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. He joined USCCB in May of 2015. Bill brings with him a demonstrated commitment to providing services to migrants, refugees, and others in need. He doesn't just talk the talk, but he walks the walk. He has lived and worked in Niger, Djibouti, Burkina Faso, India, Switzerland, and Haiti. Lived and worked. He served as Secretary General of the International Catholic Migration Commission, COO of the Papal Foundation, and in various leadership roles within Catholic Relief Services, including Director of Emergency Operations for the period, including the aftermath of the Haiti earthquake. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you all William Bill Canny.
Thank you, Doctor. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly.
Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to be here with you all. And I really enjoyed Dr. Kendall's presentation and her points about the underutilization of T visas, probably related to, the challenges that victims have to come forward. And then secondly, the shortage of legal assistance for trafficked persons, immigrants in general, refugees is really a real problem and challenge in this country. So I'm really glad, Judge, that you brought those 2 points out. As mentioned, I work with the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCCB, and just a little bit about the conference. It was formed in 1917 and called the National Catholic War Council to enable U.S. Catholics to contribute funds and commit personnel to provide spiritual care and recreation for servicemen during World War I. The word conference soon replaced council in the organization's title, showing the consultative nature of the organization. Many of you may know, or some may not, that technically every bishop in the world responds and works directly to the Holy Father. In 1922, the National Catholic Welfare Conference was created to address such concerns as education, immigration, and social action. By 2001, the conference USCCB was formed as we know it today. Our purposes are to unify, coordinate, encourage, promote, carry on Catholic activities in the United States, and importantly for our discussion, to organize and conduct charitable and social welfare work at home and abroad, with a particular emphasis historically on education and the care for immigrants. Catholic teaching maintains that human trafficking is an affront to the God-given dignity of each victim. And Pope Francis has described it as, and I quote, an open wound on the body of contemporary society, a scourge upon the body of Christ. In 2019, the Vatican released its pastoral orientations on human trafficking, which serves to provide a reading of human trafficking and understanding what motivates and sustains this much needed long-term struggle. The U.S. Catholic Church has been actively engaged in combating human trafficking. The Church has undertaken various programs, political advocacy, and partnerships to address the issue at various levels, such as spreading awareness and education. Some parishes across the country have been equipped to conduct educational programs, workshops, and seminars to inform people, oftentimes parishioners, but others, about the signs, causes, and consequences of trafficking. We have at Migration and Refugee Services, the office that I manage, over the past decade, a number of programs in this vein. Directed assistance and support. Some Catholic organizations and religious orders and congregations, often women's congregations, have established programs to provide direct assistance and support to victims of human trafficking. These programs offer a range of services, including shelter, medical care, counseling, legal aid, vocational training, and reintegration in society. Many Catholic charities have been instrumental in providing these services to survivors. And my colleague at USCRI will speak to a program that we have participated in and members of the church have participated in historically. Two examples of direct assistance and support. The Metanoia Manor in Louisiana, founded in 2018 by Father Jeffrey, is a faith-based residential facility for victims and survivors of human trafficking. It provides a holistic approach in healing, physically, spiritually, mentally, and more. Metanoia provides intervention services for behavioral health, physical health, life skills, and more to female survivors, focusing on rehabilitating all parts, of the individual. The O'Connell House in Boston, a 13-room residence which provides comprehensive services to women who have been sex trafficked. These women may be pregnant and or have a small child. It is a place where dignity will be restored and healing can occur. The U.S. Catholic Church also actively partners with governmental agencies, law enforcement, and various NGOs to combat human trafficking. It participates in interfaith initiatives, coalitions, and task forces dedicated to eradicating trafficking. Such partnerships include Talitha Kum, an organization founded by Catholic religious sisters that collaborates at the national, regional, and continental level to actively support victims and survivors of trafficking. Again, you see the effects here of Catholic religious sisters, both in this country but globally, vis-a-vis the scourge of trafficking. The Santa Marta Group, supported by Pope Francis and mentioned earlier, Donna is a director of this group, was created to bring decision makers together, build partnerships and cooperate between civil society, governments, law enforcement agencies, and the church to make a significant contribution towards the abolition of slavery. As we continue to develop this mission, and the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops is a member of the Santa Marta Group, as we continue to develop this mission, its vision is to work together to disrupt criminal networks and abolish slavery. This requires a more systemic approach, taking account of local circumstances while addressing global issues, including corporate responsibility and the engagement with international legal frameworks. Now, the office that I manage, Migration and Refugee Services, is in fact the largest refugee resettlement agency in the world. As you know, the United States has a resettlement program which vets refugees overseas, invites them to come and their families to the United States, and provides a program to help them resettle and integrate into our country. We've also served as a leader in the protection of unaccompanied refugee and immigrant children by providing family reunification and foster care services. We have served unaccompanied children through culturally appropriate programs nationwide since 1980. When an unaccompanied child arrives in the United States, they are typically apprehended by the Department of Homeland Security, most often at the US-Mexico border by US Customs and Border Protection. And I want to mention that it is not infrequent that children are separated from whomever they come to with the border for oftentimes good reason. You remember the scandals of the separation of children, if you will, by a previous administration. This was taking perhaps too much liberty to separate children from families, but every administration separates children when they're not sure that the child arrives with a bona fide legal guardian, or they're unsure, again, our agents at the border are unsure that that child is not somehow being trafficked in some way, shape, or form. So at that point, the US Customs and Border Protection turns the child over to the Department of Homeland Security. And then under ORR's care, which is part, Office of Refugee Resettlement, part of the Department of Homeland Security, unaccompanied children receive various types of services to promote their safety and well-being. They're often housed for a period of time until the government can ensure that the children in its custody can be released to parents, guardians, relatives, or other sponsors in the United States in a safe, efficient, and timely manner, also known as family reunification. The Office of Refugee Resettlement provides extensive guidance for this process and more in its policy guide. We are one of a number of organizations that conduct home studies and provide post-release services follow-up to children and households within which they have been placed. To ensure an unaccompanied child's safety and to safeguard against any instances of trafficking or abuse, ORR requires extensive sponsor vetting through this well-established family reunification process. Now, You've read about some problems a few months ago. There's no doubt they happen. Our government is trying to vet 100% of the families that are separated. I think they're up to 70% now. The number of unaccompanied children has grown. So they've had to increase this particular services of going into those homes and making sure the child in their care can be released to that home. Let me talk about a new initiative. Due to high poverty rates, overlapping legal jurisdictions, substance use disorders, discrimination, and high engagement with the child welfare system and other factors, indigenous populations are disproportionately at risk for human trafficking. For example, the National Foster Youth Institute reported that 60% of child sex trafficking victims come from individuals who have experience in foster care or the child welfare system. So foster care and the child welfare system is a hotbed for potential trafficking. As of 2021, Native American populations are 4 times more likely to have a child placed in foster care compared to their non-Native counterparts living in the United States. This tendency is long-standing. Statistics dating back as far as the 1970s report that 80% of Native peoples living on reservations had 1 or more children in the foster care system, and 85% of those children received placements outside of their tribes or relatives. There are higher numbers of Native children in foster care than that across the United States. American Indian and Alaskan Native children are overrepresented at a rate of 2.4 times higher than their counterparts. Migration and Refugee Services, in collaboration with another department focused on Native American affairs at the U.S. Conference, have developed an initiative to increase awareness of human trafficking among Native and Indian communities, to empower individuals to identify human trafficking situations in their communities, know whom to contact should a possible trafficking situation be identified, and clarify methods used by traffickers to exploit vulnerable populations in this community. This campaign, we hope, will help Native Americans to build communities that are more resistant to human trafficking situations. Some other initiatives of the conference: public policy advocacy. The bishops called for stronger legislation and policies to protect victims, also advocates for comprehensive immigration reform. We encourage ethical supply chains. Every year we have an initiative urging companies and consumers to prioritize projects that are not tainted by exploitation. We co-founded what's called Compass, a coalition of organizations and ministries promoting the abolition of slavery at sea. Finally, I'll mention that the bishops actively engage companies through their investment guidelines. The Catholic bishops provide every few years an updated investment guidelines for their own investments, but many Catholic organizations and other organizations adopt them across the country. And they actively engage companies through corporate dialogues, proxy voting, and support of shareholder resolutions to effectively address human trafficking and forced labor by developing codes of ethics that follow the Palermo Protocol of 2000. Finally, I'll mention that the Catholic Church actually has a patron saint of human trafficking. Sister Josephine Bakito was born in the Darfur region of Sudan in 1869 and was kidnapped by slave traders and enslaved as a child. She was forced to walk barefoot over 600 miles and sold multiple times to different owners before being sold to an Italian diplomat that took her to Italy, where she valiantly asserted her freedom with the help of the Canossian Sisters of Venice. Through her faith, Sister Bakita realized the promise of liberty inherent in the human spirit. She lived out the rest of her life as a sister, sharing her empowering testimony of human freedom and dignity. With encouragement from Pope Francis, February 8th is recognized as an annual day of prayer and reflection against human trafficking. We pray that we may work together to remove the causes of this disgraceful scourge in all of our cities and neighborhood. In celebration of her feast day, Catholics around the globe are encouraged to attend and or host prayer services to generate greater awareness. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Canny, for your leadership in the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops and the Catholic Church to eradicate this crime. And thank you for taking just a quick minute to raise awareness of the unique vulnerabilities of American Indians and the Native population, and how they're more at even greater risks of being in foster care in the child welfare system. So thank you so very much. Our next presenter serves in a leadership role at one of the nation's leading providers in serving foreign-born victims of human trafficking. Mr. Bart Bachman is the Associate Director of Trafficking Services at the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, or USCRI, as many of us know it, where he oversees administration of the Trafficking Victim Assistance Program, or TVAP, and the ASPIRE, Child Trafficking Victim Assistance Demonstration Program. Bart started working with USCRI's TVAP program in 2017 and previously served as the Regional Program Officer, monitoring project implementation in the ACF regions, or the Administration for Children and Families, regions 1, 2, 3, and 10. Prior to that, he worked at the Migration Policy Institute in its international program, where he published an article in the Migration Information Source entitled Diminishing Solidarity: Polish Attitudes Toward the European Migration and Refugee Crisis. Bart, we are honored to have you, and I'll turn it over to you at this time.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Dana, and thank you to former First Lady Edwards also for having me here today. I'm so excited to talk to you all about the Trafficking Victim Assistance Program, commonly known as TVAP, and the ASPIRE Child Trafficking Victim Assistance Program. And I'm happy to share a little PowerPoint with you all to change it up. So as mentioned, I'm Bart Bachman. I am the Associate Director of Trafficking Services at the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, known as USCRI. And at USCRI, we are an organization very similar to BILLS, USCCB, but we are not religious, and we focus on refugee resettlement, legal services for immigrants. I believe we're the largest service provider for the unaccompanied children. As mentioned, as we kind of discussed, variety of other refugee migrant services. What I'm here to talk to you about today is really ASPIRE and TVAP. And with these two programs, both are funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Office on Trafficking in Persons. And I would say that these are really kind of the two biggest national programs that are solely devoted to serving foreign national survivors of trafficking. So by the nature of our program, we serve those who are not US citizens or not green card holders. They're all foreign nationals. They might be in the US with or without status. We last year served over 1,500 individuals through our program, and we are on track to serve even more this year. So kind of happy to bring you some of the insights that we get from serving that population. I think the one thing that's really key that we found as we have discussed and why we're here today is that there really are unique vulnerabilities and needs of this population due to their potential precarity of status, their particular linguistic or cultural needs, and often, especially as potentially newcomers in the US, they need a lot of assistance, often just navigating the systems, things that we might take for granted, how to enroll in school, how to apply for public benefits, how to take public transits. And that's our programs are really here to meet the holistic needs of the survivors that we serve. And I will add that we are able to serve both survivors of sex and labor trafficking. The next slide. So first, kind of two pieces to start off with for your awareness is the HHS eligibility letter process. I'm going to start with the process for minors because they're a little different for minors or adults, but I'd say it's really important to be aware of this process if you're interacting with any potential foreign national survivors of trafficking. So, foreign national minors, so those under the age of 18 who have experienced trafficking either inside or outside of the US, can apply for an HHS eligibility letter through the Office on Trafficking in Persons. The way the statute is written in law is that an individual is meant to submit this request for assistance, known as an RFA, within 24 hours of identifying trafficking concerns of a foreign national. I would say that that window doesn't end after 24 hours. If you are thinking right now, oh my God, I encountered someone 2 weeks ago, you can definitely still go ahead and go through this process. But how the RFA process works is that anyone who has identified a foreign national minor, a potential victim of trafficking, whether that be a border patrol agent, whether that be a nurse, whether that be someone working in one of the ORR shelters that Bill just mentioned, they go to OTIP Shepherd System, which is an online system, and submit some demographic information about the minor and a narrative of their trafficking concerns. Now, I would say this is fully confidential. This isn't being released to law enforcement or anyone else. This is just for HHS to gauge whether or not they meet the federal definition of a severe form of trafficking. This is submitted online. OTIP reviews these requests for assistance, and if they concur or agree that the minor is a victim of a severe form of trafficking, either sex or labor trafficking, they're able to issue this HHS eligibility letter. And I would stress that this eligibility letter does not confer any kind of legal status, but it does allow the minor to access public benefits to the same extent as a refugee, which can be really, really crucial for this population. It helps them access SNAP, commonly known as food stamps. It allows them to access the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. They can access some other programs based on what they're eligible for in their state. But I would say if you're ever interacting with this population, definitely be aware of the OTIP Shepherd system and how to submit this request for assistance. On the next slide, I talk a little bit, oh, sorry, go back one. Oh, no worries. That I will just say really quickly then, I think I'm missing a slide, but this looks a little different for adults. For adults, there is an equivalent of an HHS certification letter that allows them to access benefits to the same extent as a refugee. But to be eligible for that, they must have received either a T visa or continued presence. I know we talked a little bit about these earlier with the judge, but a T visa is an application submitted to USCIS, and the T visa non-immigrant status is granted by USCIS. Often that's worked on by a low bono or pro bono attorney, and the T visa comes with a path to citizenship once received. Continued presence is granted by the Department of Homeland Security's Center for Countering Human Trafficking, and it can be requested by any federal, state, or local law enforcement with the authority to investigate or prosecute human trafficking. It's a temporary immigration designation for victims of trafficking who might be potential witnesses for an investigation. But essentially, once either of those statuses are received, the adult can request HHS certification letter to again access benefits to the same extent as a refugee. The one thing I would note is that our program TVAP is able to help both before and after that certification letter is received, so we're able to provide support in the interim. Now I'll go to the next slide. So there's kind of three major program activities that USGRI works on under TVAP and Aspire. The first is case management. So we provide both in-house and through a network of partner agencies across the country, comprehensive, culturally and linguistically responsive case management services to foreign national adults and children who have experienced labor and or sex trafficking. And that really can encompass so many different things. What I love about our program is that we are really flexible and able to meet the needs and goals as identified by the survivor. but it really is crucial support that can assist while some victims might be out of status or unable to work due to their trafficking situation, and help put them on a path again towards recovery and self-stabilization. The next, as I kind of mentioned, that case management is provided both in-house by USCRI and also by a network of partner agencies. So we work with agencies across the country. I believe at last count, we're at a little over 60 agencies. You might already be working with a TVAP or Aspire provider in your community. If you're not, definitely please feel free to reach out at the end and get my contact information. I'd be happy to connect you with them. Or if you're thinking, oh my God, I would love to participate in this program and be a TVAP or Aspire provider yourself, we love to partner with new agencies with an interest in this work and provide a lot of training and support to help you on that path. So definitely please don't hesitate to reach out. And the last piece that I kind of mentioned that you can reach out whether you want to be a partner or not is regional coordination. So we now have regional coordinators within each of the 10 ACF geographic regions who are really there to serve as kind of like a resource and just support to anyone working with foreign national survivors of trafficking, adults or minors within that region. So they can provide training, technical assistance, help do case consultations, help navigate some of those systems. I'll go to the next slide. So as mentioned, part of the really key portion of our work is case management. And as mentioned, the key here is to really we train all of our case managers on how to be trauma-informed, culturally responsive, and survivor-centered. So we know that this population has really unique needs due to their past experience of trafficking, due to their unique needs as a foreign national navigating some of the US systems, potentially for the first time. So as mentioned, we really try to make the program as flexible as possible to meet the needs and goals identified by the survivor. We hire and we urge all of our partners to hire fully bilingual case managers since a lot of our clients do speak Spanish. And then they are able to provide community referrals and have a limited budget for direct participant assistance to meet a super wide variety of needs based on what the survivor identifies as something that they need help with. So that could be gift cards for food, that could be help paying rent, that could be help finding and paying for childcare for a child while the primary caregiver goes to work. That could be help with some kind of mental health services or dental services. Again, we really try to work with a survivor as closely as possible and let them direct what their services look like as much as possible. On the next slide, this again goes back to the regional coordination. I would stress again, this is kind of a new piece of the new federal grant we've been working on, but these regional coordinators are really meant to serve as a resource for any partner working with this population like you all. So if you can want to call up to ask about applying for benefits, if you want to call because my overview of the HHS eligibility letter and certification letter process right now is really quick and you don't really remember all the details, or if you want to call just to be kind of like, what is there in my area to help foreign national survivors of trafficking? These regional coordinators are really the kind of bedrock of someone that you can go to, talk through a case, talk through a hypothetical situation, talk through resources, and they are really the kind of the experts in what that looks like in your region. The last thing I wanted to just kind of do a little plug for is that, again, if you're working with this population, especially foreign national children and youth, with the high arrivals at the southern border right now, I'm sure many of you have seen in the news, and a lot of discussion around labor exploitation, potential labor trafficking of unaccompanied children, other foreign national children and youth. We here at USCRI released 3 toolkits that focuses on really practical guidance on how to work with this population. So that's safety planning with foreign national children and youth survivors of trafficking, trauma-informed case management for the population, and special considerations that kind of goes into some unique populations and unique, just unique other things to keep in mind when working with the population. I would say these are all available on our website and they are amazing resources. The people who worked on them are brilliant. So definitely, if you kind of, again, follow up on this, if you want to be more prepared to serve this population, or if you just, want to keep it in mind for later on if you do encounter a foreign national child or youth survivor of trafficking they want to assist. This would definitely be the first place I would send you to. On the next two slides, I just have some contact information for our regional coordinators as mentioned. And on the last slide is some contact information for myself and the rest of my team. The two emails I'd really flag here are that aspire@uscrimail.org and the tvap@uscrimail.org. If you email either of those, we'll review that and make sure that your question or query or request is passed on to the right person. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. The work you all do is so important. We're so happy to kind of be able to share the work that we're doing with foreign national survivors with you all. And I look forward to maybe hearing from you all or partnering with you in the future.
Amazing. Thank you, Bart. Many of us, I'm sure, have heard so much of the work of USCRI and OTIP and Aspire. So thank you for taking a minute and breaking down, giving us an overview of your services and how to access your regional coordinators and your toolkits. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. I think we'll go right to our documentary, and then we will get to Father Darcy in the end. So our next presenter is someone who we are just so proud of, who just took leadership on a project working with former First Lady Donna Edwards to create just a very impactful documentary that was survivor-led. And so I want to just take a minute and introduce Dominic Massa. Dominic is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at WYES-TV, the PBS affiliate in New Orleans. Last fall, Dominic served as the executive producer for the documentary Turning the Tide, a story of hell, healing, and hope, which highlighted human sex trafficking crisis and efforts in Louisiana to fight it. He has 25 years of experience in documentary production, also formerly worked as the executive producer at WWL-TV, CBS in New Orleans. So Dominic, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hunter. And I'm going to explain how you were involved in this project a little bit later on. But thank you for your help and your leadership, and of course to Mrs. Edwards for all of her wonderful work in this regard. I'm a television person, so I'm going to let the video speak for itself, but I'll say a few words about the video. And I have that crutch to rely on. So many of our presenters have done a wonderful job speaking today. Video that I can use to help tell the story. And we were pleased to be able to do that here at WYES. I was thinking as we were talking, while we, work that you all are doing, and we do things like this where we sit on virtual summits or, sort of big picture things, but it really starts with conversations and what you're doing to raise awareness just in the daily interactions you all have as first spouses and in the work you do across the country. And that's how this project came to us. So today I'm going to share with you some information about the documentary called Turning the Tide, as Dr. Hunter said, Turning the Tide, a story of hell, healing, and hope. And we were proud to produce it and air it last October here in New Orleans in the South Louisiana viewing area. It also aired statewide in Louisiana. And we aired it again this past month in January to coincide with National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And a little bit later, after I show you a clip of it, I'd like to encourage all of you, if you're moved by it and if you think it might be something that your local public television station would be interested in picking up, we'd be glad to share it free of charge with them to raise awareness. And that's the goal with this, to raise awareness across the country. While we're talking today about border and other issues, this also shows that it's in our own backyards. And you all know that was one of the goals of this program, was to really expose what's happening in communities across the country and here in Louisiana, of course. The film is produced and narrated by an Emmy Award-winning journalist and colleague of mine, Karen Swenson. She could also do a much better job of explaining it today, but she couldn't be with us. But you'll hear her voice in the clip that we're going to play. And she brought the idea to the program to us based on a conversation she had with Mickey Shahardy, a mutual friend, and Donna Edwards, who of course has such a passion for this cause. And so in that conversation, and that's why it made me think about just the interactions you have as you spread the word and talk about this issue, little things like that, a conversation, a Zoom call that happened between the three of them. They brought it to me then and said, what can we do with this? Can we make a program out of this? Can we continue the conversation even on a bigger scale? And so we did. We agreed to take it on. We thought it was an important cause and something that we could highlight, hadn't done in any way here at our television station. And so really the hook of it is the three survivors we talked to who have such powerful stories, three very different stories, as you'll hear, but they've also become powerful advocates, and they took it upon themselves to now become advocates for, the prevention of trafficking, to help others. Mrs. Edwards is a wonderful voice in this, as you'll hear. And then also Metanoia, which you heard a little bit earlier discussed, which is the wonderful facility run by Catholic nuns, the sisters who care for and nurture survivors and get them back on the path to good health and a future. And so you'll hear some of that in the clip here. One line that struck me as I was preparing for this, that Mrs. Edwards says in the clip, you'll hear it, that when you hear about sex trafficking, you can't unhear it, you can't unknow it, and you can't walk away. And that is so true. And I think those of us who've worked on this project, now that we've heard it, now that we heard what's out there, what's happening, you can't unhear it. And it makes you think twice and realize the dangers that are there and the reality that is on the streets and in our communities. And so that to me was a great, side effect of this, that we all, to raise awareness just for ourselves and for our communities, for the thousands of people who have watched it so far, and we'll hopefully see it, in the months to come. It is available online, and I'll tell you more about that as well after. But right now, let's watch a clip, if we could, from the documentary Turning the Tide, a story of hell, healing, and hope. We're not hearing audio, Dr. Hunter. I don't know if we need to check a setting there or.
Runs a wicked current that flows through every state and nation and threatens the life. It's known as Sportsman's Paradise, where canopies of Spanish moss blanket giant oaks. The sun beats the swamp, and the mightiest river flows into tranquil lakes. But just beneath the surface runs a wicked current that flows through every state and nation and threatens the lives of the most vulnerable. The women was disgusting. The men were disgusting. They stunk. Their skin was sticky.
I am an investigator with Louisiana State Police. I'm in the Special Victims Unit. I mean, they wanted to sell me to a drug addict for $300. It's a lot easier to sell human and make money than drugs.
He told me I was going to die. He wanted me to be prepared to die. He knew that whatever he was going to do to me wasn't going to be nice. These are the faces of three, held captive and sold for cash. They reveal their faces and their stories to destigmatize victims and change the narrative. See us, hear us, help us, fight them.
I think there's a time when we were told growing up that certain things weren't our business. And I say these children are absolutely 100% our business.
Donna Edwards becomes the First Lady of Louisiana when her husband, John Bell, is elected governor in 2016. She, along with police.
People say, what can I do about this? This has nothing to do with me. Everybody has a part in saving a person's life, period.
The FBI.
Wait, this is new at 9. Dozens of sex trafficking victims were rescued recently. That's according to the FBI.
Survivors.
Trust me, I wanted to give up. But nope, you can't give up. Because if you give up, you let the enemy win. We just welcome them and love them as they are when they come.
And a group of nuns running a secret healing center in the backwoods of Louisiana have teamed up against a common foe, sex trafficking, and perhaps the natural inclination to turn away.
They deserve for us to stand up for them, to talk about what they're going through, to save them, to bring them back.
But to bring them back, you must understand where they've been and how they got there.
She was the girl who cried herself to sleep while holding on to a secret that wasn't hers to keep. She was the girl who got anxiety at the sound of any man's voice. She was the girl in first grade who already knew about boys.
Starting in preschool, Megan is molested by family long before she is trafficked by strangers. Poetry becomes a form of therapy.
And my mom didn't always have the best character. I know she suffered from addiction problems.
Molested while Allie is still in diapers, her mother moves her to Louisiana to escape, but it happens again at age 10.
She felt okay enough to leave me with this man as a babysitter while she went to work, and he gave me a pill to take. I don't remember going to bed. I don't remember getting in the bed. I don't remember eating anything, but I do remember waking up the next day in my mom's bed at home, naked.
You never know what could happen. It could happen in your hometown. It could happen in your backyard. Mine happened in the backyard.
My own family.
By my own family. All right, trust them, but you can't. Realized this was happening. I thought people loved me, but they were just using me.
It's Danny who opens the eyes of the first lady to sex trafficking. That it can happen anywhere, even in her sleepy hometown, where her own children knew of Danny and her captors.
It's hard to believe that this is happening in our own backyard. It's hard to believe that this happens in a community that's as small as ours.
She was the light switch for you.
She was the light switch. Can't unhear it. You can't unknow the information, and you can't walk away. So I knew that what I could do was, I call myself the connector. And so I could connect everybody.
First Lady Donna Edwards uses her influence to raise awareness. She invites state lawmakers to the governor's mansion, fellow first spouses to Zoom calls where they share what's worked in their states, and inspires her husband to create the governor's office of human trafficking.
You know, it's a bipartisan issue, right? And so people come together on those issues. It's one of those issues you don't have to say much because it's the right thing to do. And when it's the right thing to do, it comes together.
Laws are passed. One expunges the criminal records of victims forced to commit sexual crimes. Another mandates truck stop employees along busy interstates be educated on the signs of trafficking and how to report it. Similar measures will educate hospital employees. And there's another connection the First Lady makes through, of all places, the Vatican.
We know that all of us here today believe in the fight for freedom for these victims, so they might have joyful life and hope for the better future.
In 2016, Louisiana leaders break ground on a secret healing center, Metanoia, a place founded by Father Jeff Body and inspired by a Vatican nun. It translates to change of heart, a place where girls hardened by trafficking are loved into a state of peace and hope.
I just think that when they broke ground on Magnolia, they broke a little bit through hell. and the devil don't like that. And to have a little piece of heaven sitting on top of what he called his, he would never like that. And to find so much peace in a place like that, it was amazing. It was beautiful. When you first get there, I mean, it's so beautiful outside. And then when you go inside, it only gets more beautiful. It was a very peaceful place, but more than it being a peaceful place, the people, it had the most amazing people running that place.
The 5 nuns are from the Philippines, Madagascar, Nigeria, and India. 4 are trained nurses. 1 is a social worker. Their mission? To serve God by serving the girls. Megan and Allie are the very first to arrive.
Well, the healing started as soon as I got there. I fell in love with those nuns, and I feel like they fell in love with me. My first question is, do you have kids? To Sister Anna Maria, and she was like, no. I was like, did that make us your kids? She said, yeah. That's what we are trying to instill in them, that there is hope for a better future. Forget the past and you will get there. We are here to accompany you to get there.
Please forgive some of the technical glitches. This was not designed to be played over PowerPoint and Zoom. As we were watching it, when that audio didn't play, I said, oh my goodness. But just to give you an excerpt, that's about an 8-minute clip, the 30-minute documentary, and shares the powerful stories of those 3 young women and those that united to help them and help fight the issue. So we encourage you, if you're interested, to reach out to your local public broadcasting station. We'll be happy to share it with them free of charge, no cost to them. And what we did here locally to continue the conversation, it's a 30-minute program, and we followed it with a 30-minute in-studio presentation, sort of a roundtable discussion. So Dana Hunter was part of that, Mrs. Edwards, a local FBI special agent in charge, and another survivor with a powerful story herself. An advocate spoke as part of that 30-minute program. So we encourage local communities to do that, maybe, to air the first piece and then follow it with their own local, what's happening in their community with some local voices. So my contact info, we can share that, WYES in New Orleans, and we'd be glad to share it with anyone. And the website, I should say, is turningthetidefilm.org, turningthetidefilm.org. It's available there. The program is able to watch there on the website as well. Thank you for including me today. Yeah.
Donovan, real quick, can you tell us again how, if there's states or other people that want to possibly, show this in their state or encourage others, how would we go about that?
We can be, as you are so often, the connector. We'll be glad to be the connector, to offer it to them. We've offered it through our programming service already. PBS, the national network, is one part of it, but local stations can pick up, just like syndicated program. They can air locally in their markets. So if you're interested or know somebody, just maybe if you mentioned it in conversation, we've had, I should say, to the First Lady in Nevada, we've had some interest in Las Vegas and Reno, the stations there. So they may be airing it, that I'm not sure yet of the schedule. And also, I think, in New Mexico. So we've had some interest across the country from stations. Things are set several months in advance. Schedules are set, so you don't know yet what's coming down the pipe. But we're willing to share it with them at no charge, make it available technically to get it to them to be able to air.
Great. Thank you so much. We're going to put your name and your information for everybody to see. And if they would like to reach out and have this documentary shown in their own states or in their own community, they can do so. Reach out to you for free of charge. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and working with us. Thank you so much. And Karen Swinson, who did a fabulous job on that documentary. We're just so grateful to her too. So thank you. So just real quick, it doesn't look like we were able to get Father Bosco. He's incredible and he has a lot of information to share, but somehow it wasn't able to, we don't see him on the panelist right now. So we're gonna keep going, but I just want to say to you all who's listening, I'm sure, like myself, you have learned a lot of good information today. And that's the purpose of these summits, is really to convene leaders in the field to share knowledge that will help providers and professionals in their day-to-day work with victims and survivors and really everyday people. What can we do, every day? So I want to express my gratitude to each of the first spouses that joined us, as well as the presenters, for your commitment to addressing human trafficking. It's so important that we all are aware of our surroundings in our community, and find out how we can be a part of the solution. We've learned today policies and programs that will help migrant victims of human trafficking. If you have any questions for any of our presenters or Dr. Hunter, please do not hesitate to drop your question in the chat box or email Dana at louisianafirstfoundation@gmail.com. I said it before we judge any individual, let's remember the human dignity of every person and see how we can assist. You know, there's a scripture, 1 Corinthians 13:13 that says, and now abide faith, hope, love, these three things, but the greatest of these is love. So let us remember to love one another, especially those that have been considered the most vulnerable. And I want to thank you all again. And please be on the lookout for our upcoming newsletter and dates of future summits. We'll send that out to you as soon as we get the next date. And I look forward to our continued collaboration in this important effort. I know some of you who are listening or online here today are getting continuing education hours. So make sure you reach out to Dana. Dana, do you have any information about that you want to share before we close?
No, they can email me at Louisiana First Foundation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dana, for an amazing job. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. I appreciate you so much and your work you're doing each and every day for our attendees. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless each and every one of you.